For almost 3 years, weed was just a part of my life. And the scariest part, I didn't even think I had a problem. This is a story of how I got hooked, why I couldn't quit, and the one thing that finally made it click for me. Alright, so before I get into my story, I want to address something first. Weed gets talked about in two completely opposite ways, and both of them are kinda wrong. On one side, you've got people, usually people who've never smoked, treating it like it's basically heroin. It's a gateway drug, it'll ruin your life, one puff and you're done. You know the type. And on the other side, if you get the smoking community, acting like it's some kind of miracle plant that cures everything, fixes your sleep, cures anxiety, makes you more creative, blah blah blah. The truth? It's somewhere in the middle, and I've lived both sides of that story. I know people who've smoked every day for years and have never touched anything harder. And I know people who've never smoked a day in their life but actively do harder stuff. So, no, I don't buy the gateway drug narrative. But, and this is very important, that doesn't mean weed is harmless, especially not for everyone, and definitely not for me. Let me explain. My first time smoking was when I was 18 years old. The classic setting. In a local park, surrounded by a group of friends, sitting in a circle like some kind of ritual. Someone pulls out a joint, it goes around the circle, two puffs, pass it on, puff, puff, pass. Simple enough. I'm watching everybody. Some people cough, some people act like it's nothing, and I'm sitting there. And I'll be completely honest, I was a little nervous. Not scared, just I didn't know what to expect. Finally, it gets to me. I hit it, I pass it on, and then I wait. 5 minutes, nothing. 10 minutes, still nothing. Eventually, half an hour goes by, and I still feel absolutely nothing. And here's the thing, I didn't even realize why at the time. But looking back, I probably didn't inhale a single molecule of that thing. I was just holding smoke in my mouth like a complete rookie and acting like something was supposed to happen. A true beginner moment. So my first experience with weed was literally just standing in a park, feeling normal. Not exactly a thrilling origin story. The real story starts a little later, when I got into football. I joined a local team and ended up getting really close with one guy on the team. Good dude, funny, easy to hang around. Also, happened to smoke weed every single day. Now, here's a logic that I used at the time, and looking back, it's generally hilarious to me. I thought, as long as I don't smoke as much as him, I'm fine. That was it. That was my entire risk assessment. He smokes every day, I smoke sometimes, therefore, I don't have a problem. Genius. So I started smoking with him. At first, once a week, then twice, then I got to 3 times, sometimes even four when I had the chance. And on the days he wasn't available, I started buying my own stuff, started smoking alone at the crib. And here's what messes with me the most when I look back. I still didn't see the problem. Like I wasn't failing school, I wasn't losing any friends, and I wasn't showing up to things high. Everything looked fine from the outside, but on the inside, I was slowly just becoming a different version of myself. A lazier one, a heavier one that needed to smoke to relax, to sleep, to just chill after a long day. And this went on for about 2 years. By the end of those 2 years, something had shifted. I started feeling regret. Not guilt exactly, more like I wish I'd never started, because I could see who I was becoming and I didn't like it. Weed made me slower, made me comfortable with doing nothing, and that's completely against who I want to be. So I told myself I was going to quit. And by quit, I mostly just meant seeing that friend less. And it kind of worked for a while. I stopped playing football around that time anyway. Not by choice, but because my knees were absolutely destroyed. I had more trouble walking up a flight of stairs than my grandfather at like 20 years old. My body was falling apart, and I was just ignoring it. But here's where it gets interesting. Even after I stopped playing football, I'd still see that friend every month or so, and every single time I'd smoke with him. Not because I felt like I had to, not because I was craving it desperately, just because I didn't see the problem in it once in a while, right? Except once in a while became a habit too, and I didn't even notice it happening. My body started expecting it once a month, like clockwork, and that's when I realized this isn't casual anymore. This is a pattern. This is my baseline. And then, completely by accident, I got the opportunity that changed everything. Through school, I got the chance to go to South Africa for 3 months. Working program, four of us from school going together, long days, hard work, and weekends exploring the country, living in a completely different environment and culture. Now, South Africa has weed, like it's not that hard to find. So it's not like the option wasn't there. But here's what happened, I just didn't feel like it. Not once. I was surrounded by people who didn't smoke. We were busy constantly. I had things to do, places to be, and new experiences to focus on. Weed just never crossed my mind as something I needed. And that 3 months turned into the longest period I'd gone without smoking in over 3 years. Now, coming out of that experience, I felt different. I don't want to be dramatic about it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I found enlightenment in Cape Town or something. But I genuinely felt clearer, more in control, more like myself. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like quitting wasn't just something I wanted, it was something I had actually done. Here's what I want to be clear about: weed affects everybody differently. I know people who smoke regularly and are completely functional. They work hard, they're motivated, and they're doing well. And honestly, good for them. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their life. But I'm also not one of those people. 90% of the time, weed made me lazy, heavy, and unmotivated. It made me comfortable with mediocrity, and that's something I genuinely cannot accept for myself. Because the image I have of who I want to be is the complete opposite of that. So for me, it was never worth it. And the tricky part about weed specifically is that it doesn't feel dangerous. It feels harmless. You're not stumbling around, you're not aggressive, you're not obviously messed up. You're just chilling, which makes it really easy to tell yourself there's no problem, right up until there is one. I'm not telling this story to make anybody feel bad about smoking. Genuinely. That's not the point. The point is, if you're someone who's been wanting to quit and feel like you can't, I want you to know that it's possible. You don't need an intervention. You don't need a 12-step program. Sometimes all it takes is just a change of environment, new people around you, a trip somewhere, a reason to be busy. The addiction to weed is real, but it's also beatable. And sometimes the path out looks nothing like what you expected. If I can do it, I believe you can do it too. Drop a comment below. Have you ever tried to quit? Or are you someone who smokes and genuinely feels fine about it? I want to hear both sides. No judgment here. Like this video if it gave you something to think about. Subscribe if you want more honest videos like this. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.